Welcome to another review on behalf of Aussie Gamers Express. I am Chaser. Today we'll be having a look at Survivalist, a game available on Steam. Now the first thing we want to do is have a look at the Steam description, where it describes this as a huge open world RPG where you have the freedom to play how you want, but your choices have consequences. This game fits into the zombie survival apocalypse genre, and it has actually been compared to State of Decay. But I'd like to go to say that it is phenomenally better than State of Decay. Even though it has a very primitive looking graphics and interface, I found this to completely satiate my need to build a community, have as many people as you want, destroy other communities, make friends with other communities. It's a really versatile world where you can build what you want. Now before we go any further, let's have a look at pricing and demos. We're happy to announce that Survivalist has a demo available on Steam, and the full game is very reasonably priced at $4.99 USD or $6.52 Australian dollars. Now for me this is a fantastic price, especially for the amount of gameplay I got out of it. I've got in excess of 24 hours on this game. It is that extensive. I've got to say that I love the music in this game. It's varied, but in such a way that you never really get bored of the tracks. You're always doing something, and some of them can be really motivational. You know, you're doing buildings, you're building up your community, and others are a lot more edgy for when you're in combat. So they did a really good job on the variety of music. One of my favourite things about this game is the consequences are very real. It's not like those pseudo consequences that you get in games like Mass Effect or even State of Decay, where they sort of say there's a penalty, but all it does is change the storyline. In this game, the consequences are very real. If you recruit someone who's at odds with another person in the community, you could just be walking around and all of a sudden those two in the community are having a shootout because they're sick of each other. You can also have people leaving your community because of decisions you make, and it's very hard to judge who will leave and for why. And naturally you want to build up the biggest community possible, so it can very likely end up that you'll end up having to kill those that leave your community. Now I've gotten a little bit ahead of myself here, and I haven't really explained the start of the game. You start out as a gentleman who has survived in a bunker and has no more resources. They've all been dried up, and it's been a year since the outbreak or the end of the world has occurred. From this point, it takes you on a very gentle tutorial that's by no means laborious. And this is one of the best ways to introduce a player to the game, introduce to the controls and the mechanics. And in my opinion, this game does that very well. One of the things that you can do is you can follow the quests, you can follow those, but you don't have to. There's nothing stopping you from going in any direction, whatever you choose. The game just simply suggests that you might not be able to progress in certain points because some storyline events progress your technology, so to speak. Now, one of the most interesting aspects of survival-like games is what I call the struggle. The struggle has to be real. You can't just call it a survival and then allow there to be plenty of resources, plenty of ammunition. The struggle in a finite world needs to be real, where it's a real struggle to build your community because you have to go out into your surrounding area and pick up wood, pick up fencing, pick up concrete. And these things are actually heavy, so it's not like you can just throw them in a car like you can in State of Decay and drive around. You've got to send one guy out to get one piece of wood and bring it back to the community. And it might take, 8 bags of concrete to build a pillbox. It might take 15 bags to build a cement tower. So that's 15 trips that person has to take to go and get that material. And it can take days. And if you send several people together, you can chain them and they all work together to get those materials. Now let's talk about carrying capacity, because there was a lot of bitching over carrying capacity in No Man's Sky that everyone bitched about. Oh, I can't carry enough resources, I can't do enough of this, I can't do enough of that. And like in No Man's Sky, Survivalist is very picky on how much you can actually carry, because it's a lot more practical than the majority of games that have been made in the past couple of decades, where you can't just pick up machine gun after machine gun and expect to be able to move and act like you otherwise would. If you pack too much in Survivalist, you will fatigue, you won't be able to run. Enemies will be able to tackle you and they'll just bite your face off and you'll become infected.
Okay, princess. That's it. The fairy tale is over. Welcome to real life. You want this hot air machine? You carry it.
One of the good things about your community is that everyone's very independent. If they're hungry, they'll go get some food. If they're thirsty, they'll go get some water. If you've got that in your community, they'll also go and resupply their ammunition if they're on guard duty. So there's some things that you don't have to take care of, which is a really good thing because you don't want to get too tied up in the micromanagement of every unit. You want the community to be able to live while you're off playing the game elsewhere. One of the biggest and bestest points about this game is that you can create your own posse. You have people that stay at your base and they'll perform certain tasks to get the community going, but you can effectively take every other person with you. So unlike State of Decay where you can only have 1 or 2 other people with you, or if you mess with the game a little bit, maybe 3 or 4, you can take as many people as you can and arm them all. So you have this huge group running after you, destroying zombies, destroying your enemies. It is excellent. This is how a survival game should be played. You should be able to utilize every person that's in your community to go out into the environment and create your empire. The game design is very unique in the way that you're able to destroy other communities. You can do it by force, but you can also do it subversively by stealing their food supply, by recruiting members of their community to make them ultimately weaker and less capable of surviving. I find that aspect really immersive and entertaining. You're not just limited to brute force, you can be really subversive. Do yourself a favour, get a copy of Survivalist. I rate it 10 out of 10 zombie donkey dicks. Oh, fuck off.